What's up guys, Mickle here, and in this video, I want to share with you a brand new interview of Brad Garlinghouse where he talks about why he thinks most of the market is missing the boat on how cryptocurrencies are really going to transform our financial system. I thought this was an excellent clip, and whenever Brad Garlinghouse talks, I think it's really important we listen up because he really is going to go down as one of the most important people in all of crypto. Towards the end of the video, I also want to talk about two amendments coming to the XRP ledger that really have the potential to change it going forward into the future in a very positive way. I want to talk about what these two amendments are and why there's so much controversy in the community right now about them. There's a lot of people saying that these have a risk of actually breaking the XRP ledger as we know it. I want to talk about that at the end of the video, so make sure to stick around. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. If you enjoy these videos, make sure to take a quick second to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It's really going to help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange uphold down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to start out this video and actually go over a rumor that has been all over Twitter today, and I think it's really important you understand the truth behind it. Now, I'd play you this video of this guy actually spreading this rumor, but he actually has music in the background, and I don't want that to be copyrighted, so I'll just tell you what he says. Essentially, what he is saying is what happened last night where the SEC dismissed their charges against Brad and Chris is actually a bad thing. The XRP community has it all wrong, because essentially this will make it easier for the SEC to appeal the Ripple SEC case. Now, he is right. What this did was it moved up the timeline for the SEC to appeal the Ripple SEC case. But I have no idea why he thinks that's a bad thing. If it wasn't for Brad and Chris's charges being dismissed, the SEC would have dragged this case out another year and a half. They would have just appealed this case after trial. So essentially what happened is we had a year and a half cut off the timeline for how long the Ripple SEC case would last. This guy is trying to make it sound like the only way that the SEC could appeal the case would be dropping the trial of Brad and Chris. That's not true at all. They could have went through the entire trial of Brad and Chris and then appealed the case afterwards. What we did by the SEC dropping the charges against Brad and Chris is we just got rid of a year and a half of this case. So now if the SEC wants to appeal, which they probably would have done either way if they're going to do it, well, they can appeal now rather than going through the same thing a year and a half from now. So I just think this idea that what happened last night was bad because now the SEC could appeal sooner is just an absolutely garbage take. The SEC is going to either appeal this thing or they're not. I would rather have them appeal it now than have to wait a year and a half and go through the same exact thing all over again. I think this take is really bad. I think these people are really missing the target on what actually happened here. And I really do think it is excellent news that the charges against Brad and Chris got dismissed. Guys, even if the SEC does go through with an appeal, we all know they're going to lose. They have lost on almost every aspect of this case. I don't think that's going to change. The fact that they can now appeal now is actually a good thing because essentially it just cuts off a year and a half of this case that we all would have had to sit through. So now that I got that out of the way, I want to quickly go over to a clip of Brad Garlinghouse actually talking about what he thinks about the cryptocurrency market right now and what he thinks people are missing when it comes down to how these cryptocurrencies are really going to change our financial system. Now, I think this is the important thing we really need to focus on. One, because Brad Garlinghouse doesn't give interviews like this too often nowadays. I think a large part of that is because of the Ripple SEC case, but I think what he says here is really going to resonate with people on how a lot of people are really missing the boat when it comes down to the utility of these cryptocurrencies. Listen up to this clip and then we'll break it down.
Question, I'll give it to you, Brad. What are your thoughts on the Bitcoin's ETF approval and its future role in the monetary system?
So I think it is an interesting one. We've obviously seen a bunch of traditional financial firms file for spot Bitcoin ETFs, and finally the United States SEC seems to be, after years of kind of dragging their feet, seems to be allowing those to move forward. I'm not sure, part of the question here is this idea that are they part of the future monetary system? I mean, to me, a Bitcoin ETF is simply allowing people who may not know how to custody, buy, manage their crypto themselves to participate in Bitcoin as an asset. It's a little like a gold ETF. You may not want to hold gold in your home, but being able to buy a gold ETF allows you investment exposure to that asset. And so I'm very much pro giving people access to these things in a way that works for them. And so I don't know why that would be bad and why the SEC was blocking that. Whether or not that has a role in the future monetary system, as much as I'm bullish about Bitcoin and I own Bitcoin, Bitcoin has some significant limitations as it relates to a payments mechanism in terms of fees and speed. And so I'm not sure I see that as a transforming the monetary system.
So the main reason I bring that clip up is because I have talked a lot about how important I think the approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF is going to be to bringing liquidity to the market. And I think that's 100% true. I think it's going to give institutions the green light to start investing back in cryptocurrencies. But I think it's really important to also understand the big picture. When it comes down to what actually is being solved by a Bitcoin spot ETF, it's almost nothing. It's just another way to invest in Bitcoin. But it's still such a big deal right now because we're so early in this space. Imagine what happens when cryptocurrencies actually start solving a real problem like Brad says here. Imagine when XRP actually becomes part of the monetary system. That is going to be so much bigger than a stupid little spot Bitcoin ETF. And I just bring this up to show you perspective. When it comes down to what Bitcoin is, it's just an investment vehicle. It's just people putting their money in something and saying, okay, I hope this goes up one day. But what XRP is so much bigger. It's a transformation to the monetary system. It's a transformation to how we move value all around the world. And I think that is going to be exponentially more valuable than just some investment product. I think Brad does a really good job here of just putting this all into scale, letting you know what's coming to the XRP ledger is so much bigger than just this asset you can invest in. Guys, there's going to be XRP spot ETFs in the future. There's going to be different ways to invest into XRP as an asset. The same way you can invest in Bitcoin and will be able to invest in Bitcoin. But when it comes down to these assets actually being used for their full intended purpose of moving money all around the world in a future financial system, that's where XRP has a serious leg up. And I think Brad just did an excellent job of this interview of just saying, hey, yeah, what is happening to Bitcoin is cool. It's important to the market. But what we're solving right now is so much bigger than any of that. And I think a lot of people get so zoomed in on what's happening today, they forget about this larger picture, but that's the real reason I wanted to show you this clip. Now, I want to finish this video off and talk about some amendments coming to the XRP ledger. And there's been a ton of drama around these amendments, so I just want to cover them quickly and kind of cover the drama side of what's going on here and what I think is going to happen. Now, the first big amendment that really is getting voted on right now is the AMM, or the Automated Market Maker. And this was an amendment proposed by Ripple that essentially is going to allow different ways to source liquidity on the XRP ledger. I think we all understand now that the XRP ledger really is a liquidity platform to move value all around the world, so having more efficient ways to move liquidity around is very important. Now, right now, there's a lot of pushback against the AMM, and from my perspective, a lot of this pushback is coming from the group of people who really wanted hooks to pass on the XRP ledger. Hooks ultimately never got voted on the XRP ledger, and the main reason for that is because people like David Schwartz thought that hooks would be too risky. Now, this caused a lot of people who are big supporters of hooks to actually get mad at the AMM because David Schwartz is a big proponent of the AMM. So you have these two different people kind of going against one another. You have the people who really want the AMM, the people who really wanted hooks but are now mad that the AMM is being pushed through and hooks never would, and you're kind of getting those two people butting heads. Now, in my opinion, the AMM is going to pass. It seems like it's just too important to the XRP ledger. It has way too much momentum. It's going to change way too many things on the XRP ledger, and there's just way too much proof that it's not going to hurt anything in the long run. Now, with that being said, though, I just don't see why these two parties are so upset, because I also think hooks will ultimately come to the XRP ledger. From my perspective, it seems like hooks were just a little too risky to implement off the bat. It seems like what they wanted to do was test hooks on a sidechain, make sure they worked, and once they knew they worked, implement it into the main chain. Now, I really do think this is the safe way of doing things. I think people are just mad that when it comes down to who's making these decisions, it seems like they're kind of going back to Ripple and David Schwartz. Now, I understand why people would be upset with that, but at the end of the day, those are the two most knowledgeable parties on the XRP ledger. So if they need to make some tough decisions like this or really push these things in the right direction, then I feel like that's just what needs to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that things are centralized or not. It just means that some people have a lot of respect in this community and therefore have a lot of pull on what happens at any given time. Either way, though, both of these amendments have the ability to be game changers going forward. Adding new ways to source liquidity is going to be critical to the XRP ledger being more liquid in corridors all around the world and just becoming a better way of managing liquidity, and it's going to introduce different ways to actually earn yield on your assets. At the same time, hooks are going to add really important programmability in making the XRP ledger a better payment solution and giving it functionality to actually build applications you can't today. What I want to really get across is that there are two very exciting amendments coming to the XRP ledger that is going to make the XRP ledger exponentially more useful as time goes on. Right now, we're kind of in this ugly middle ground where some people wanted something to happen first, some people wanted this other thing to happen first. But in my perspective, both of these things are going to happen on the XRP ledger once we are sure they are safe, once we are sure they are not going to impact anything negatively. And the one thing I want to get across to you guys is that at the end of the day, everyone wants to see the XRP ledger succeed for its full intended use case. Some people are more cautious about what happens. Some people want things to happen faster, but we have been through these processes before, and as long as these amendments are properly vetted out and are adding value to the XRP ledger, then I think it's only a matter of time before these things start getting pressed through. And guys, just understand, the XRP you and I own hasn't had any of these abilities built into it yet. It hasn't had all these changes. So just understand, not only is the XRP ledger as we know it today getting more and more adoption, but it's actually becoming exponentially more useful to the largest institutions in the world as these amendments get added in. So it's really cool to just understand, not only are you investing in the network as it becomes more widely adopted, but you're also investing in it as it evolves and grows and becomes more powerful and actually integrates itself into solutions we never thought possible before. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.